Homeless man finds $17,000 outside a food bank that he was waiting outside of, gives it to a worker inside. Early one morning, Kevin Booth, who was a homeless man, was hungry, so he went to his local food bank in Washington, looking for the bread that is left outside overnight for people to take. Instead of bread, a brown paper bag was sitting outside the front door, caught his attention that morning. Perhaps it held food. So he opened the bag and saw it was filled with cash, $17,000 to be exact. At first, he was like, "What the heck is that lying on the ground?" And Booth, who's 32, said in an interview with the local newspaper, the News Tribune, said he looked inside and saw stacks of money. Then out slid a $20 bill that fell on the ground. Of course, he said, "I picked it up and sniffed it to see if it was real." He told the News Tribune. He said it seemed legit. Then I was like, "Do I take off or do I stay?" He told the paper. See, for me, I would have taken off and not stayed. He didn't know how much cash was there at the time, but he knew it wasn't his. So he hung around the Summer Community Food Bank until it opened about 20 minutes later, and he handed the bag to a volunteer who cracked the door open for him at 7:30 in the morning. He said, "This is for you." He said, "Somebody left it on your doorstep." The volunteer initially thought it was food and weighed the package, as it is routine for all food donations. She opened the bag and realized something was amiss and called police. Inside were neat stacks of 20 and $100 bills. The um the the police of the town Sumner, which is where this was at, showed up, took possession of the money, and opened an investigation. Nobody knew where the bag had come from, and since the security camera on the food bank was not functioning properly, basically nobody knows who left it there, and there was not any useful information. The police said it's strange for someone to leave a bunch of money like that outside a food bank. Investigators checked with other police departments that were in nearby towns. They looked into any robberies in the area. They checked for suicidal people who may have withdrawn a large sum, and they came up empty. Last week, after the required 90 days had passed and nobody else claimed the loot, police gave it back to the food bank in a ceremony in which they also presented Booth with a citizen's citation for his honesty. The food bank also gave him a reward to thank him. McDonald said many officers, including him, know Booth to be a good guy, who sometimes laughs, hangs out with a rough crowd to protect him. The food bank decided it would give him various gift cards over time rather than a lump sum of cash as a reward. The food bank director said she and other relatives at the food bank have known Booth for years and have planned to keep him through the winter. Miller said Booth lives in a tent in nearby woods and has turned down her offers of shelter. Basically, she's offered him a place to stay, and he wants to make it on his own. Even for a guy that's homeless, he's hoping to find a job eventually so he can get something.